Assalamu alaikum guys, welcome to the Daryeel kitchen, delicious food made simple. In today's video I'm going to show you how to make this delicious Lotus Biscoff Brownie, which has been requested so many times and I really wanted to share this with you. So let's go ahead and start with the recipe. The first thing that you need to have is this Lotus Biscoff. You can find them in any supermarket, and if you haven't tasted, you should definitely taste this. We need some eggs at room temperature, some flour, and I've just chopped the Lotus biscuits. We also need some chocolate. I've got dark and milk chocolate, a little bit of coffee, some vanilla, a touch of salt, some sugar, brown sugar, and just the normal regular sugar. And then we also need some butter, and I've got here unsalted butter. First step that we need to do is just melt our butter and our chocolate together, and the way we're going to do this is just by putting the butter in a bowl, and then we're going to place the bowl on top of a pan which has water in, and this is called bain-marie, which is you just slowly melt the chocolate and the butter together. Just be careful that you don't put any water by mistake, so just avoid any water. Just slowly melt this until it becomes really nice and smooth, and then after that we're going to let this sit for a while just so it can cool down. Second step, we're going to let this cool down, but one thing I like to do is just add the sugar while it's still cooling down, so at least the sugar can melt down. I'm using mixture of brown sugar and white sugar. The brown gives the brownie a really nice and gooey texture, so I love adding both sugars together. And then we're just gonna let this cool down completely, because we can't add our eggs into a hot mixture. That's something that I've learned the hard way. So just don't put anything in, let it sit for about good 5 to 7 minutes. The way I do is just dip your finger in and see if it's cooled down. If it's cooled down, you can add the eggs. And then after that, next step, after it's cooled down completely, we're going to add our eggs. I'm using 2 large eggs which are in room temperature. I've changed into a whisk just to allow me to mix everything really well, and then just give everything a good mix. Once we add the eggs, the next thing we're going to add our vanilla. I'm just using a little bit of vanilla extract, and then we're going to add a pinch of salt. Whenever I bake, I like to add a little bit of salt always. And then the next thing I'm going to add is coffee, which you might think, what is this? But coffee brings out the flavor of chocolate more. So I love to add, whenever I bake with chocolate, I like to add a little bit of coffee. And that's just a normal regular coffee. And then the next trick I'm going to show you is we're going to add some of the Lotus biscuit into our mixture. And I'm just going to add a little bit of the flour. And the reason I'm doing this is to allow the biscuits not to sink to the bottom. Otherwise, if you put it in, what happens as soon as you bake the brownie, all the biscuits will go down all the way, so I don't want that. And then we're just gonna sift in our flour, give everything a good mix, and then once we mix this part, then we're going to add the cookie. So now we're going to go ahead and add our biscuits, and the reason I'm adding this biscuit, since this brownie is a Lotus biscuit inspired, I really wanted to add a bit of crunch into the brownie, and also the whole point is to make this somehow a brownie that has lots of lotus flavor in. And by doing this, when you bite into the brownie, you can hear the crunch, and also because it's gonna cook through, slightly gonna melt, so it's really like a nice gooey texture, really nice. So the final thing now is just to bake our brownie, and I've preheated my oven already at 180 degrees, and then I've got a baking tray. I've just lined with a baking sheet. Just pour all the mixture there and just make sure everything is really leveled up, and just smooth it out. And doing this is really important because everything will cook at the same time. Just shake a couple of times, tap on the kitchen counter a couple of times just to make sure everything is even. And then we're just going to place this in the oven, and I try and place this in the middle rack, really important, so it can cook through really well. And then after 18 to 20 minutes, you have yourself a delicious brownie ready. It doesn't take a lot. You might notice when you take out the brownie that it's still a little bit uncooked in the middle, but as it sits outside, it's going to cook through, so try not to overbake. So 18-20 minutes maximum should be enough. And now all we need to do is let this sit outside for a bit to cool down, and then I'm going to show you the next step. We've reached the final part of our delicious brownie, and all we need to do is create that top coating, which is really easy to make. All you need is a bowl, and we need some white chocolate. I'm just going to chop the chocolate into little pieces, and then all we need to do is just melt this in the microwave. And the most important thing is to place the chocolate in the microwave for about half a minute, and then mix everything, place it back in the microwave for another half a second, and then until everything is melted down. So don't put it for a full power because otherwise it will burn really fast. And then you can see it's nice and smooth. And then all we need to do now is get our brownie and pour the mixture on top. Quite easy to do, just pour everything however way you like. And then you can do some drizzles, you can smear everything, it's up to you. And now all we need to do is crush in some of the Lotus biscuits on top. And also this is a great way to show people that this is actually a Lotus inspired brownie. Otherwise it would just look like any other brownie. So I love doing that. And I'm using about 4 biscuits and just crush them all everywhere. And then we're almost done. Final part of this delicious brownie is adding some more caramel sauce, and I've got here some homemade caramel sauce, but you can definitely buy one from the shop and it works perfectly fine. If you guys want me to show you how I made my caramel sauce, just let me know in the comments below and I will share the recipe with you guys. And then once you drizzle the caramel sauce, you just want to make sure you drizzle really generously. This is definitely not a diet food, so just be more generous with the caramel sauce. And then I've chopped some more of the Lotus biscuits and just put some on top. And I'm just carrying on with the caramel sauce, just a few more drizzles. You can best enjoy this brownie straight away, no need to keep in the fridge. And I've noticed if they sit in the room temperature, it gets really nice and gooey and soft as everything slightly melts as well. But otherwise you can just keep this in the fridge, and whenever you need a few slices, just take them out. And if it's slightly hot because it's been in the fridge, place in the microwave for about 10 seconds and it should be really nice and gooey. You can have it with ice cream, it's so delicious. Now we've reached the final part of this delicious Lotus inspired brownie, and it's just to enjoy them. You can see they're looking so delicious, gooey with the caramel, with the rich chocolatey flavor, and with that Lotus, it's just something else, like so delicious. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, press that like button. If you like my videos, please do subscribe. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments and I'll try and get back to you guys. And until we meet, assalamu alaikum.